This is Reality Dispatch by Jim Mins.
The facts were true. The boy was killed by a series of bullets fired from a gun held by Curtis. It all happened on a street corner near Ventura Boulevard. Curtis had used a stolen gun that he had purchased through his services to a local drug dealer. In a past life, the weapon had been in use as a county sheriff's sidearm and was responsible for 3 other deaths aside from Michael Linebull's. The latest killing would not be the firearm's last, for when it was held in a custody locker in the courthouse, a high-profile robbery drained the evidence cage of contraband that would propel the mismanagement of the administrative affairs of the court. The pistol would go on to commit another 3 murders until its killing days were to be quashed completely, but that would be a story for another day. Curtis gripped his fists tight, a nervous tell. The facts outlined by the prosecution were all correct, bar a single truth that only Curtis knew. He did not convey this truth to anyone, least of all his attorney. Curtis was instructing his counsel on a self-defense case. This was only partially true, for Curtis feared his life would be at risk if Linebull continued to share the same air as he did, except Curtis's main motivation was revenge. Curtis was sure that the kid, known to the court as Michael Linebull, who would stand on the Ventura corner morning and night, was the one responsible for his brother's murder 8 years earlier. The whole town knew it, and no one ever disputed it. Curtis took his actions to be a blood oath faithfully carried out. He was also sure that word had gotten out of his intentions, which made him fear that Michael Linebull's attack would come first, hence the need for a preemptive strike. So, in a way, it was self-defense, in a matter of speaking. "Miss Harris, you may address the jury now," Judge Stanton began as they all returned from lunch. The jury looked eager for the whole thing to be finished on this day. That would depend on the prosecutor's final arguments. She stood to face them and smiled, breathed in deeply, and held it for a moment as she looked at each of their 12 faces before beginning her address. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not a case that should dwell on your time and your conscience too much. It is a simple tale, one that can be summed up in the facts. A drug dealer shoots rival drug dealer over a territorial dispute." Curtis shook his head as he stared at the floor. She didn't know the truth, and this played on him. His counsel often schooled him on what he should and should not dwell on. The arguments of the prosecutor weren't one of them. "She isn't the one we have to convince," he would say. Curtis didn't care. To be doubted by one was an indicator that he was doubted by all. The facts do not lie. The gun that was used in the assassination was operated by the accused. This is a fact that is not disputed. Prosecutor Harris continued. The killer was a known dealer of narcotics on the streets of La Brea Shire, as was the victim. There was no provocation according to your viewing of the CCTV. The accused murdered the victim with 5 successive pulls of his trigger, streaking the walls of Mr. Chan's convenience store with blood that took the Chan family over 4 days to clean up. Is this the sort of person we want on our streets? Do we believe that Mr. Curtis Mayfield is the victim here? Do we believe that he is someone who is acting out of self-defense? I urge you, use the logic of the situation and find the defendant guilty. Guilty as he deserves, guilty as charged. Prosecutor Harris resumed her seat. True to his counsel's predictions, her closing was short and sweet. Curtis figured it didn't need to dwell. For the first time since the trial began, as the days neared a verdict, he felt fear that he knew would emerge one way or another. A guilty verdict was a death sentence in California, there was no doubt about it. He tried to take solace in the knowledge that his actions were predicated on a desire to seek revenge for his brother, but the taking of a life clouded this attempted conviction. He was barely listening as his counsel stood to address the 12. In what seemed like the passing of 5 or 6 minutes, the closing arguments had ceased, and despite the courtroom being full, Curtis sat alone in his thoughts.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.